Olá, eu sou Rafael Lazzarini, idealizador e CEO do Rio2C. É um prazer compartilhar com vocês o Rio2C Alive, essa iniciativa virtual do Rio2C que vai reunir ao longo dessa semana mentes brilhantes em torno do mundo para discutir um pouco esse nosso presente, reimaginar o nosso futuro, né? E é óbvio cumprir a missão, a nossa propósito do Rio2C de conectar, inspirar, informar as pessoas. A gente tem uma convidada especial, vinda direto da Itália, a Glória Origi, e infelizmente, como não falamos todos italiano, a gente vai mudar para o inglês, vai fazer esse painel em inglês. Então, só lembrando que a ferramenta, né, de legendagem do YouTube está ativa, então vocês podem utilizá-la se quiserem ter a legendagem na língua que vocês escolherem. Well, before starting the panel and introducing our guests, I would like again to thanks Ambev, and that's here represented by Carla on this initiative with Rio2C to create a platform called CreativeX. The CreativeX is meant to provoke, map, and boost the Brazilian creativity. It's a platform to understand trends, reformat concepts, practice innovation, and experience creativity. Every day we'll be here presenting special content, and today we're gonna talk about a very, very relevant matter: reputation and trust. So we have the honor to have Gloria Origi join us. Gloria is an Italian, Paris-based philosopher. She's a senior researcher at the Institut Jean-Nicot at the National Center for Scientific Research in Paris. She works on the theory of mind, epistemology, and social sciences applied to new technology. She's the author of the book Reputation: What it is and Why It Matters.
Here it is.
Perfect. We also have our great friend and inspirational mind, André Veloso. André is the driving force behind Drum Waves, a big data company based on Silicon Valley, Palo Alto. And his mission with Drumwave is to unleash the value of data for intelligence. And he talks a lot about consciousness, and we're going to understand a little bit what data has to do with consciousness. André wrote a very interesting article that was recently published called Infodemic. He talks about the epidemic of information. What he says is, and it's brilliant, that even before the coronavirus pandemic, we were already suffering from a communication crisis. And the solution for that, the vaccine for this, is trust. So how we can build trust in an era of complete lack of credibility. We also have with us Carla Kripa. Carla is VP for Corporate Affairs for Ambev. She's the responsible for sustainability, external and internal communications, media relations, public affairs, and crisis management. She's also the founder of AMA, which is Ambev mineral water. It's more than a bottle of water. It's actually a social business created to help solving the clean water access problem in Brazil. And last but not the least, we have our moderator for today, Ana Couto, that is a reference for branding in Brazil. She used design as a tool to build strong brands, like most of the brands, not only Brazilian brands, but also multinational brands with activities in Brazil. And Ana has shifted focus of his work to concentrate a lot on building purpose and impact for brands. So I'm gonna leave to you guys. So Ana, it's yours.
Great. Thank you so much for the invitation, Rafael. It's a great group here. I think we're gonna have a lot to talk. And thank you for me to understand how I can mediate so many topics that will be coming around. So we're talking about branding, building value for the society, right? And value is something that talks about trust, reputation, data, corporate affairs. And I think it's a perfect time when we think that this pandemic crisis is a good time for us to do a tipping point in the humanity, a tipping point in business, how we can learn something, discuss something, and change something, because the only thing we can do is to live better from this crisis, right? So I think we're going to have a great talk. I would love to start with points of view of the major work. I understand a little bit of what Gloria has to say about reputation, about her book, reputation in the society, in being rational and rational decisions, and has to do with communication. And Gloria, if you want to start, we're going to share we start with you, putting a little bit of your perspective on your work and what reputation has so much to do with what we are creating now in terms of value.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really a great pleasure to meet you all. As you were saying, I mean, I'm an academic. I'm based in Paris. I wrote a book on reputation, and I worked a lot on issues on trust and credibility, especially of credibility of science. So it's another angle. But I think it's relevant for what you were saying. So let me start with a citation from Shakespeare, from the Othello. Cassio, in Act 2, in Scene 3, says, reputation, reputation, reputation. Oh, I have lost my reputation. I have lost the immortal part of myself, and what remains is bestial. So what does it mean? I mean, what happens to someone when he loses his reputation? What we lose when we lose a reputation? What we earn when we earn a reputation? So reputation is is shrouded in a mystery. Meaning, on the one hand, we all know that it is so important for us to build a reputation, to have a reputation, and to be able to evaluate other people through their reputation. On the other hand, we don't know exactly what it is. So my conceptual effort in my book was to find a definition of reputation and understand how it transforms through our actions, and how it can raise sometimes in an unjustified manner and be amplified in the society of information as our society. And so that was my aim. And I define reputation in my book as a cloud of representations that all our actions live in the social space. So as all our action leave a trace in the physical space by moving air and by touching things. etc. Reputation is the weight of our actions in the social space. So it's a cloud of representations that is not under our control. It is the part of ourselves that lives in the eyes of other people. And on one hand, we manage to organize all the possible strategies in order to try to control our reputation. On the other hand, we feel that at a certain point we lose control of it. So it is not something, it's not like putting a mask on us. So there is our ego and then our reputation as a mask. It is really our social skin. It's really something that attaches to us, but it is controlled by this cloud of opinions that is around us. And so there are two strategies in my book, I mean, two lines that I try to explore. On one hand, how do we build reputations that last? And on the other hand, how do we use reputations in order to come up to trust other people? And this is maybe in these times even the more important part. I mean, we live in societies that have lost trust in institutions, trust in science, trust in expertise, etc. And because and this is a consequence, paradoxically, it is a consequence of an informationally loaded society. Too much information creates a situation of distrust instead of a situation of trust. So how do we trust others? How do we come up to trust? Well, we don't have any other means that by evaluating other people's reputation in order to come to trust them. So this is the way in which we come to trust and we come to know most of the things we know is by going through the reputation of others. So it is very important to build robust reputations in order that other people can trust us. So this is the approach in my book, but I can come back in the discussion and detail some other aspects of my research.
It's interesting because building value for a brand in terms of branding, we do think that trust is a basic instrument to really create value. And you create value in the long term. It's fast to lose value, but to create. So out of control, we are totally out of control. Nowadays, it's a crisis unprecedented in the world. And the only thing we do know that we don't have control. And we don't have control over the information. We are really bombarded nowadays with so much information, and we don't know how to trust, who to trust. In Brazil, exponentially untrusted country with present political crisis. So I think this is a good idea to bring Andrea and talk about a little bit how you build in this infodemic of too much information that we are living beforehand. Now we are like in a VUCA, potentially much more disorganized and overwhelmed with information. So, Andrea, if you want to carry from that.
Thank you very much. I would like to try to explore like maybe one or four ideas, different ideas for what we are facing right now. I like to start with the idea of value, right? So things have value or meaning to us, to humans, right? Because we know that we are going to die. So that's the most important thing for me, because I know that being here or doing this thing or things have only meaning or value for us because we know we are going to die. For machines, machines cannot have this address this question, right? Machines are not afraid to die. So we've been building a world that is pretty much data-centric, right? And in a world that is data-centric, we have no control. Humans feel like we have no control, so we cannot trust it, right? And there's also fear around that, right? So a world that is data-centric, that is being kind of promoted so far by most of the tech industry. It's just like it's run by machines. The power is in the hand of a machine, right? You need to know about AI. You need to know about machine learning. So humans, people, we feel like powerless in front of all this big apparatus, right? We believe in a value-centric world, because a value-centric world is something that we can relate to, and it's based on the opposite of fear, and it's based on trust, and it's something that humans can manage. But the basic line for that is that the biggest change we are living now is the change of the technology stack. So everybody here, we were all born and raised in a stack that was built to monetize applications. So you sell an application, you sell a device, you sell an operating system, you sell carriers, right? You sell storage, processing of data, right? So this is the description of the stack. It starts with a user, with the app, with a device, with the operating system, and it goes all the way down to the storage, going through the carrier, through the Wi-Fi, to all this kind of stuff. So all the stack, all the contracts, all the structure of this world that we live into is built to monetize applications. So what does an application perform? An application looks to the world, it gets information, and it transforms information into data. So for the last 30 years, we've been collecting information and putting down there into data. So I believe that we're into this change that we're now, we don't have, the margins are getting smaller, right? Thinner. And now we need to find a way to monetize the data, right? So in order to monetize the data, we need to create another stack, or to reorganize the stack. The first stack that monetizes applications, he does it in two ways. An application looks to the world, gets information, transforms it into data, but it does it by making segmentation, fragmentation, and specialization. It fragments and specializes. It's the mentality of the Industrial Revolution. In this new stack that everybody's working now here, that will monetize the data, the new kind of applications that are going to be be born, they're going to do two things. They will combine and exchange. Combine and exchange, right? So this is the third idea. The fourth idea that I would like to bring to you guys is that the idea of cybernetics, and those two ideas, they combine to make it clear for you to feel what is happening. So most of us, we believe that cybernetics, it's about robotics, right? But cybernetics came from the Greek, and it's the art of navigating. So going from the point A to the point B, right? So in order for you to navigate from the point A to the point B, you have the ocean, you have a little boat, and the wind, right? And you need to correct course as we have the wind and the tide, right? So if you're navigating from point A to point B, and you don't and you just lose the focus from the point B, what happens is that you're gonna end up looking to another place. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. You're in a boat, you're looking to the island, you come in from the beach, you stop to look to your phone, and then you lose your way. You need to correct. So this is the first order. So all the software we have today was built to help you act in the first order. The second order cybernetics is when you watch yourself navigating from point A to point B, right? So by doing this, you can see how you behave correcting course. So we don't have, as of today, software that allows you to analyze what is happening when you're acting. So this is why we have all this polarization, hate speech, and all this mess, because you cannot analyze what is going down into the action layer. So I think it was kind of funny, kind of disconnected, right? Hard to explain. It's the first time I talk in a camera. I'm not good in the cameras, but that's pretty much the idea of the source of the noise and the feeling of fear and the need of trust that we have now.
Just
So
making a parenthesis here, I believe, Andre, this goes along with what you say, for example, to make maybe this a little bit more tangible for people at home, is what you say about, for example, pollution, right? We are polluting the air or the ocean, but we are not aware because it's happening. We don't have something that monitors and say, oh, we have polluted already X% of the ocean today. That's right.
This is perfect. This is perfect, Rafa. And that goes straight to the brands, because as a human being, right, I impact the world and I measure the world using 6 senses. My vision, my back, sorry, my back, I lost the voice.
Yeah.
We need to do this again. Thank God it's being recorded. I need the water. As a human being, we impact the world and we measure the world using our 6 senses, right? But as a collective, we impact the world and we measure the world through a number of industries. And those industries, they collect the data. It's not they collect the data intentionally. It's just they collect the data, right? And the sensors that collect the data belongs to this industry. So we cannot have the feedback as a collective body. So we ended up just drinking water, right? And you go to the beach and you see all that plastic in the water, or whatever bottles and plastic that we consume. As a collectiveness, we just can't feel the feedback of the impact that we are generating.
But that's interesting, because we started here with Shakespeare, with Othello, saying about reputation is a personal and one person that you build. And then we're talking about technology and data, and all of a sudden we kind of disconnect from the person, and we are really selling and monetizing data in a collective way, but we lost the sense of human, the sense of responsibility, accountability, trust in each other. And I think nowadays it's interesting to see that those two dilemmas of trust being a personal thing and trust being something that's monetized with technology. What are you going to go next? What's the control? Because you're talking about controlling attitudes or behavior. Should we go to control behavior, or should we really change the mentality? Is this a new era for humanity, or is this a new era for technology? And I think this is a good question, because I think it's a turning point. We have so much information, and the hate, this polarization that we're seeing throughout the world. And we have a corporate person here as Ambev with Carla, which I think it's a company that has been going through what's the purpose of Ambev. I saw Carlos, the CEO of Ambev, in a lecture saying that a person from Turkey asked him, so I know you guys sell beer, produce drinks, but what's your purpose? How are we going to not impact negatively the world? Because we are in a turning point for humanity, for the planet. And I know that Ambev in this mass of coronavirus is, in terms of brand, the #1 brand that was perceived as a brand that's doing something. Because we're talking now, it's like, it doesn't matter how you communicate. Now it matters what you're doing to change things. And we are now in the doing phase, not only talking, not only communication, selling, we need to do something, because we are in a collapse of economic collapse, humanity collapse, trust collapse. I think it's a really an interesting turning point. So I'd like to see Carla and hear about her perspective as a corporate and the person, of course.
Yeah, thank you. As you said, and as Andrea said, we are in a time of fear, right? We are in kind of a survival mode. So it's a different time. And I think reputation has never mattered so much for brands and for corporations. I think there are two steps. We are, of course, seeing these surveys, and Ambev is there as one of the brands that are more recognized in this time of pandemic. But for me, what matters most is that on day zero, we had a crisis committee meeting in the pandemic and deciding on our priorities. So our first priority would be the health and safety of the people that are with us and of our partners. And the second priority was to find ways to help our community, our ecosystem, and our partners. So it's kind of repurposing, you know? It's kind of seeing your capabilities, and it's not a donation of alcohol, hand sanitizers, it's not a donation of a hospital, something like this. It's donation of capabilities. So what can the company do best, and how can it donate its capabilities, its people, the time of its people, the know-how, the expertise, and the management and the agility to help solve real problems in the world. That was a big decision that we made since the beginning. We are a Brazilian company. We're going to help Brazil, and let's use our capabilities to do so. If we need to adapt our production lines, if we need to be more flexible with our partners, with our suppliers, with our clients, our people, let's do that. We are in a different time, and we need to adapt, act fast, and we need to help. So that was the basic mentality behind the crisis committee for the COVID. And it's interesting because I saw a survey that has been published last week by the Reputation Institute in Brazil. Yes. And for the first time in history, when people assess the reputation of companies, they put ethics and social commitment, responsibility as the first driver of reputation in our country. Yes. It has always been products and services. And for the first time in history, now it's ethics. So being fair, being committed, and being transparent on what you do. So I think that's very interesting in seeing this shift of mentality, and how can the companies do more. And I think also it's a demand from the people, right? We are hearing more and more from our society, from the people, on what are you doing? The companies shouldn't care about its business only, but rather about the community and the ecosystem as a whole. And the companies, the consumers are not gonna buy the brands and products. I think that's the new normal. They're gonna think more about the causes and the real purpose of the brands and products that they buy. I'm more of an optimistic, so I think this will be the positive change in the world. Perhaps we'll find more collaborative companies and repurposing and finding ways to positively impact the society after the crisis. So more collaboration and more of a sustainability thinking as a whole, rather than only inside the walls.
And I think for Brazil, in terms of corporate, we never donated so much money for the crisis before. We never, as a Brazilian social, and we work with all the big clients, I think they always really understood their role as a citizen and as a corporate citizen. And I think this will change, because purpose is not something that you do when it's good for you. Purpose is something that you do when it's meaningful for the collective world. So this is a very interesting, and I think Brazil will come different from that. But coming to reputation,
and we are not. So just adding this, but we are not historically a philanthropic country, right?
No.
In the US, you have this culture of philanthropy. Exactly. We don't have this in Brazil, so that's a big learning for us.
I think it's a big learning. I think it's a really different mentality. I think the first war that we're going through, like it's a global war. It's intangible. And I think reputation is really doing a lot in terms of personal reputation. We had a problem like with one person who gave a party in Brazil. It's a social media person that was like all the social how to say patrocinios, the sponsors took their sponsorship. So we're seeing a crisis in reputation for good or for bad. How do you see, Olga, this moment of a reputation going through this fear, and Gloria, fear and really being tested, your reputation in terms of corporate and personal citizenship being tested? How do you
think that what Carla was saying is very interesting, because reputation is a sort of all-purpose word that contains many different dimensions. And she was saying, for example, the ethical part is so important. And so at least I would say that at least in order to analyze a reputation in a sort of robust way, we needed to take into account at least 7 dimensions: responsibility, loyalty, prestige, sustainability, fidelity, trust, and transparency. And all this can be weighted in a different way according to, for example, the brand that you are dealing with. I mean, and it's not this dimension don't weight in the same way for each brand. I mean, each brand can favor an investment on one dimension instead of others. But I mean, it's a complex word that contains many different dimensions that should be analyzed in specifically. I mean, so
And do you think the corona war, how are we going to go through this in terms of reputation? We will be more judged by it? It's going to be more important to react to it? How do you think it's going to?
But there are many things that are changing with the corona crisis. First of all, and I go back to my own interests of research. I mean, there is we were talking about a crisis of trust. That is something that is so global, and trust in every institution is in crisis. On the other hand, in this moment, we see a rising trust in science again, because we have to rely on scientists. Exactly. This is something that is very difficult for the lay people to deal with, because we don't have the means. I mean, we don't have the competence in most cases in order to judge whether a certain strategy is better than another, whether a drug will work or won't work. But I mean, science that has a strong problem of communication and of reputation, because first of all, it is not so visible in our societies, and it's not an activity that has invested so much in its own reputation. It is now coming back in a sense. And so we had to deal. So the reputation of science, for example, is changing a lot. I think scientific research is changing a lot. So investments in science in this moment are probably seen as, I would say that these will be investment that can have an important return in terms of reputation.
It's true. It's true. So you're saying that? Do you think, André, that we came from 30 years of technology being like the most important thing, investments, all the unicorns, everything's about technology, and we now are kind of having a problem with the technology, how you build all this technology so fast and change so many in the industry. Do you think you're going to be a backlash for the technology, the coronavirus crisis? Do you think you're going to be away from it? I see a lot of people saying, oh, I don't want to be so much on the technology, or no, it's going to be a new navigation path for technology. What's your perspective on that?
I was just working on that a few minutes ago before this conversation. And I was, economists, they believe that we're going through a V-shaped curve. Every time you have a deep crisis, very strong, you have a recovery that is just similar to the crisis with the same power, right?
Yes.
And I was talking to friends and to people around here, and in a matter of fact, every time that economists have measured a V-shaped curve, the V-shaped curve was like only Europe, like a specific period of time. And because of this pandemic, you're just living the biggest ever V-shaped curve we have ever seen. Exactly. So the metrics we have used to measure the old ones are tiny. So we don't know this. Anymore. Yeah, but there's another phenomena, right? So I was talking to other friends in a beach, and we were talking about how the waves of technology impact the world, right? And we use this metaphor. So we were both here in the beach, right? Having a beer, looking to the ocean. Then suddenly the chair shakes. He looks to me and says, "What happened?" "This is an earthquake." Oh. Then we look to the sea, to the ocean, and the water does the earthquake is the internet, right? Then the water disappears, right? And what is that? That's mobility. And then my friend looks to me and says, "Oh, what is the little white line at the horizon?" "Oh, this is data disruption. So it's a tsunami." So what we are seeing now is that at the same time we have the V-shaped curve of the pandemic, we are doing this at the same time that you have data coming up. Exactly. So in a world that you have unprecedented processing power, right? You can process a lot of data. So maybe the ability to react, I still don't know the time frame. I think 3 years is just a good time to start to think about, right? So this is what I see. I see a V-curve shaped curve that is coming from the pandemic, and it's coming back, the recovery driven by data. And there's another thing happening in the world. I don't know if you guys have heard about the ESG metrics. No. ESG metrics are metrics from investors, like big New York investors have adopted this kind of metric. It talks about environment, social, and governance. Yeah. Last year, they were talking about it, but they were not doing it, right? Yes. But now it's impossible for you to invest in companies that are not using ESG, because the kids, they just cannot handle more turtle pictures or movies into Instagram with plastic in the nose, or but poverty or this kind of stuff.
Great. So Carla, for you to close up, being a corporate person, what do you think is going to change for the corporate world?
A lot. I think a lot will change. I'm positive, as I mentioned. I think we'll be more collaborative, more positive thinking in the sense of sustainability, seeing more the society and not only the business. The demands from the investors, I think it's an excellent point that I just raised. We have never been more demanded by investors to report our ESG indicators, to report what we have been doing during the COVID. So I have more of a sustainability background in the company, so I'm really happy. That's like a good time in this sense, because we are changing the mindset. We are giving an opportunity for businesses to make a difference in the world and to have a market difference because of their sustainability actions. And that's a big turning point. That's a big mindset turning point. So I'm really optimistic in this sense. I'm very happy to be able to help, to be part of this repurposing. I know there is a lot of unfortunately, this has come after a lot of sad things, a lot of crying and people suffering. But if there is one thing that's positive from this crisis, is the repurposing of the society and of the businesses as a whole.
Yeah, building more. I mean, what's the question? How you build value for the collective world? I think this is a good question, and I think we're going to learn something.
And the investors, the consumers, people that are working for the companies, they are really starting to give value for this. We have been talking this for long, but
yes.
You know, when you say something but you don't see it coming, you don't see people really choosing the products they buy because they have real causes, what they support, what are the values, and so on. And now I think it's really coming, and it's really for to stay. It's for real.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we say that branding is how you build value for the 21st century. And I think it has to be totally different from the marketing that we have in the 20th century, just push and pull prices and products. There is no more world for that. So I think we are really in a tipping point of humanity and tipping point of the economics also, because if they don't work together, we all gonna go for or another planet or planet B, that's the discussion, or stay here with more trust and collective mind. So
and the partners, and I think the partners, they will remember what happened during these difficult times. If you were there with them, if you helped, if you were flexible, if you, for instance, if you adapted your payment terms, if you help them in some way in their cash flow and so on, they will remember this. That you will be able to build loyalty also because of this.
So maybe we'll come back to trust in the next after this, and I think trust, maybe this is the word that we need so much between and among the people, the country, and the planet. I think this is going to be interesting times if you can learn and change. So thank you so much. I think we have more time, or should?
Yeah, I think we are running out of time.
Out of time.
This conversation was so inspiring. I think we could keep going forever. And one of the things that I really like, it's just kind of stamped in the way we use to build our panels at Rio to See. It's something that you at the first sight say, what is the relation between this and that? And we like to explore the underlining and see that, as we say, it's all connected. So and once again, I think I'm very happy with what just happened here. So we came from the work from Gloria, from reputation as a personal matter, and we as André showed, through data, it became a much bigger worldwide responsibility, and we see that it's reflecting and resonating on the corporate world. So I think we are finishing here today with a very inspiring vision of the post-pandemic era. So thanks.
Thank you.
Gloria, thank you so much, André, Carla, and Anna for this amazing job on moderating this panel. Thank you, guys. I support is to talk about the next panel we're gonna have. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I leave you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bom, a gente acabou de terminar esse painel incrível falando sobre reputação, credibilidade, construção, né, de reputação e credibilidade, seja de indivíduo, seja do mundo corporativo, e uma mensagem, eu acho que bem positiva desse novo mundo pós-pandemia, né? Ligado que agora às 18 a gente vai ter um outro painel do Ambev Creative X sobre construção de comunidades, o futuro do entretenimento pós-pandemia. Vai ser um bate-papo muito legal que eu vou moderar com o Louis Black, fundador do SXSW, com a Patrícia Muratori, Head do YouTube, e com Ricardo Dias, CMO da Ambev. Fique conectado.